Champion band. Looking for under the sea, under the sea.
What the music say? You gotta kiss the girl.
Music say you gotta kiss the girl.
I went on a binge last night just re-listening to the old Little Mermaid songs, and there is nothing that compares to the ardent musical performance of the Trini crab, Sebastian.
Deep little snail, you know how to wail here. That's why it's hotter under the water. Yeah.
Oh my god, there's nothing that comes close to this performance. Honestly, I remember when my mom and dad sat me down to watch this as a baby, and I just kept replaying not only the entire movie over and over again, but when it got to this specific song, I would just listen to Under the Sea over and over and over and over. It drove my freaking parents nuts, as per what they said. But I can't help it. It's so dithyrambic and filled with passion and enthusiasm that it's impossible to listen to these songs and not want to get up and dance. Honest to goodness, I spent an entire hour just listening to this over and over again, and then listening to the remixes that were made by several people. And what is clear more than anything, especially when you hold the two side by side, is that this lacks any trace of emotion or passion that was fully present in the previous, or should I say the legitimate version.
And if you had just seen it up there, the ship rode on the wind, and
I know there's echoes in the ocean, and I know that sound actually travels better, but why does it sound like that? For some reason, it just doesn't fit. That echo, that reverb, doesn't seem to fit the scene.
fire.
Okay, listen to me.
The crab, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I get it that they're trying to go for realism, but good grief. Disney, of all companies, doesn't know the concept of stylization. They were one of the epitomes of it. Take a moment to observe the abundance of animated films that Disney has released in the past years and appreciate the distinctiveness of their characters and imaginative worlds. Throughout their creations, there was never a moment where anyone failed to comprehend the intended representation of the various animals and characters. When you looked at these characters, you knew exactly what they were supposed to be. Pongo and Purdy are obviously Dalmatian dogs, even though if they were translated to real life with their Disney proportions, they would look like cursed objects, or malevolent cryptids from the SCP Foundation. Disney characters have been a staple of popular culture for decades, and their designs, the way that they're stylized, is a key part of why they're so successful. Their stylization allows the Disney characters to be more expressive and appealing than their live-action counterparts, and one of the key advantages of stylization is that it allows for exaggerated features, and this can be used to create characters that are more expressive and thus more memorable. What is memorable about a freaking crab that doesn't even belong in this part of the ocean? All they did was remove the mouth parts of the crab and replaced it with a more uncanny mouth. This is going to the extreme of live action, trying to trick you into thinking you're actually watching live action when you're not. Because let's be honest, this is not truly live action, this is CGI. They think the audience are stupid and we're actually going to think this is a real crab wearing a baby-lipped mouth? Nothing is memorable about this crab. It's not expressive, it's not appealing. The advantage in stylization is that it allows for a greater range of designs. Disney characters can be designed to look like anything from humans to animals, and they can even make inanimate objects look as though they have some personality. It doesn't make it hard to believe that the characters that you're looking at are actually speaking. But even in this weird, uncanny clip of the Little Mermaid Sebastian, or SCP Sebastian, I swear, the live-action universe is going to have its own branch of SCP cryptids, with how freaking cursed these things look. Even as he's walking around, sorry, not walking, as he's moving around, you can't tell he's talking. And the only way you even remotely think that he's talking or believe that he's talking is because you know there's a crab there and it's trying to sound like what Sebastian truly sounds like.
Rode on the wind, and they filled the sky with fire.
Okay, listen to me. The human world is a mess.
You can't tell he's talking, and they do these wide-angle shots, and he's trying to tell her that look around you, look at all the beauty. What beauty, bro? Look at the place that you're living in. It looks way more drab than the actual ocean looks. Has anyone ever been to the Caribbean beach, or even been by a coral reef? It is the most scintillating, pulchritudinous, visually pleasing experience There's a reason why there are so many desktop wallpapers about coral reefs, because they're just inundated with color and saturation naturally. Meanwhile, this looks like an elderly person's skin as they're dying from a lack of oxygen due to a century-long process of chain smoking. It's just dead inside. Even the actress, who I guess you could say she looks attractive in real life, they make her look horrid in this. And if we're being honest, and I know people don't like people doing this, but her sister honestly would have made a better mermaid in Ariel's case than she would have. Her sister has this more ethereal, elf-like look to her that's very pleasing to the eye. I'm not saying Halle couldn't get cast into another role of a Pixar or another Disney character, because she does have that Disney face look, but definitely doesn't fit Ariel. Just look at what they've done to this girl's face. And I feel bad for her because she completely trusts these people to make her look good. She probably thinks it's the highlight of her career getting to work for Disney, not understanding exactly how much of a career-ending possibility this is. There are also times throughout some of these clips where her movement just looks very stilted. If she does any type of quick movement, she looks awkward, like she's not actually a mermaid. Her neck and shoulders look stiff at times, and she just totally comes across as clunky, as though she is not actually in the ocean. Everyone else we see, in addition to Ariel, is completely bathed in darkness and smog. Where's Flounder, everyone? Oh yes! Kinda hard to believe that there was actually a fish in this scene, because he's so dark, and only a section of him is yellow. Even in articles gone by, they have a better idea of what Flounder is supposed to look like. This would have made a better Flounder. And don't tell me that they're trying to be realistic, because if they were trying to be realistic, they would have chosen an actual flounder fish to play the part. And do you know what an actual flounder fish looks like? Disney wants realism, right? And while we're talking about staying on the side of realism here, how about we do the same for the mermaids? People like to throw out the argument that mermaids technically aren't redheads either and don't look like that, but being that we are using the original Disney rendition of The Little Mermaid and making this the live-action remake of that, it only stands to reason that the so-called live-action be a completely honest live-action portrayal of what the original movie was. This is not it. This is certainly not it.
Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Hakuna Matata.
Do you hear how dead inside they sound?
Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase.
Hakuna Matata. Ain't no pay.
I don't know if their idea of trying to make things realistic translated into cutting out every ounce of style and animation in terms of how people sing, move, and look out of the movie. But they not only do this with the color, they not only do it with the portrayal of the characters, they do it with the lack of verve in the music as well. And I've noticed this in all the live action songs. Once you compare them to the originals, it just feels as though something is wholly missing. Almost as though there's this conspiratorial effort to present a PSA-like message to how dark and dreary live action is when compared to animated films. But if this is Disney's idea of a joke, or some kind of message, I feel as though joke has run on so long that Disney has forgotten that that's what they're actually doing, telling a joke, because there's no way they're this disconnected from what has worked for them for so long. Then again, stylization in their movies would require a greater level of creativity and imagination, which modern Disney obviously no longer has. When artists are not bound by the constraints of realism, they're free to create characters that are really unique and special, and this is why Disney characters have always been so popular with children and adults. They are a source of wonder and excitement. They're supposed to draw you into their world and make it believable that this is actually happening in their world and help us believe in the impossible. Stylization is the key to their success. It sells products and merch, it sells the characters, and it's why mediums like anime work so well even now.
I know something's starting right now.
Then stop.
Transforming the song
Roll out.
from the original movie seems like a harmless change, but can actually have a negative impact on the film's success. And I'd actually argue that it's a stupid, tone-deaf business move. When we're used to hearing a song presented a certain way, especially if you're feeding off our nostalgia, which seems to be the crutch of the modern entertainment world nowadays, we expect it to sound better. It's why whenever I'm looking for songs to add to my playlist, I will look for old songs that I remember, but I'll specifically seek out mashups or remixes of them, because I want something in addition to a song that I like. I already own that song, and I already love that song, but what would make it better? What would add to what I already like? An example is Shape of You mashed up with Down with the Sickness.
You knock it down with the sickness.
Now, if someone makes a remix of that song, and it sounds like absolute octopus ass, it's definitely gonna turn me off to it. But there are many cases where I found remixes by Trap Nation or Proximity that do mashups or remixes that are quite transformative and add a certain fervor to the song that wasn't previously there. It gave life to something that was already lively. It added more color and verve to what was already an impressive song. Disney live-action remakes are the complete opposite of that.
I hear Hunter.
Disney live-action remakes are the opposite of that. They take what was already the epitome of a good story and presentation and distort it and strip away the very essence that made them exceptional. This is the reason why I laughably ask whether these remakes are intended as some form of elaborate trolling or if there's like a genuine effort to undermine the company's reputation or something and run it into the ground. Could it be a quick money-making scheme before the company inevitably nosedives? I'm honestly confused. When you look at situations like the Little Mermaid live-action remake, and granted, this is just a very small clip of what was one of the most popular Disney songs, you just end up feeling sad and depressed. Because you know, the original Disney songs are some of the most memorable parts of the original films due to how catchy they are and how emotionally resonant they are and pivotal in moving the story along. In the live-action remake, for what I've experienced, with all the ones I've seen, they're just there for the purpose of being there, and all the voice actors sound like they can't be bothered.
It's better, don't worry, sweater, take it from me.
It no longer sounds like an actual authentic Caribbean accent. Of course, the original, something about Sebastian's performance in the original just didn't feel as though it was authentic, but at least he did a good job of trying to portray it. It was pretty close. This doesn't sound like it at all. At all. The voice actors, the song itself feels like it can't be bothered. The color also never bothered to show up. The voice actors don't even seem to be putting their best foot forward. Jesus, the animators can't be bothered to actually animate and give the characters any ounce of expression because it's just so much easier to just give them freaking slits for mouths. Even in older films where they use CGI to move the mouths of actual real-life dogs, like in the movie Babe, are chock full of color and saturation and have way more meaning and passion than anything that Disney seems to be spending all their money on creating now, which I think is a huge farce. Clearly, not all the money is going to this. I honestly think that actors should stay clear of Disney, especially now, because it seems as though it's become somewhat of a cursed entity. Just look at this horror movie fodder. I used to have such a crush on Tramp, not as a dog, you know what I mean? An anthropomorphic character, but they did put human expressions and human faces on him, which sounds creepy when you think about it now, but he was totally handsome. He was a tramp. It made you feel the sensation of being seduced. If you were in Lady's shoes, a girl who was sheltered by her parents in an upscale life, or a comfortable sheltered life, which I could totally relate to. And then here comes this bad boy that comes from the streets that introduces you to a life that you've never known, and you're like, damn, I could totally get where Lady was coming from. And I related to that. This, bro, they made him look horrifying. Just take a look at how much carefree swag this guy has. Now looking back at the scene, I also realized that Tramp had humans before. He clearly knows what he's talking about.
Human, is that cruel?
Of course. Oh, come on now, fellas. Oh, you haven't fallen for that old line now, have you?
Looking at all these Disney live-action remakes and the song remakes just make me sad inside, but I'm kind of over it to the point where it feels as though the Disney studio is just this very old relative that lives in the attic and it's slowly dying of some terminal disease, and the rest of the family is just quietly downstairs waiting and hoping that someday soon they'll just pass away instead of suffering and causing all of us to suffer constantly, hearing them cough up their freaking lungs upstairs while we're downstairs trying to eat and feeling all despondent. Anyway, with the track record that's been set by all the live-action remakes as of late, I definitely don't have any faith in anything else Disney puts out that is under the brand live-action remake. The Little Mermaid was one of my favorite Disney movies, right up there next to The Lion King, and there is nothing remotely appetizing or alluring about it. It just feels like a husk, a shell, of its former self. A nasty, malevolent skinwalker, wearing the dead, dried-up leather skin of the original movie. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.